different influences, and yeah, man, like I didn't just stick with like hip hop, though I do hip hop, like, and I write that way, but I had a lot of external influences. Yeah, definitely.
Dope.
And I love Lupe Fiasco. He's definitely in my
Oh
top.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
always try to mention because I feel like he's so underrated in the craft. And the Cool, I'll never forget it because the Cool, I was in high school at the time and I was kind of underwhelmed with hip hop at that time. So I was mostly listening to rock music. And when the Cool came out, that really got me back. Like that's probably why I really got into rap because I was like, yo, like this dude is expressing himself in a way that's different than the norm. And he's being so creative and fearless, and the bars and the stories. It was I don't know if y'all remember the Cool, but it was crazy. And I love him too. He's amazing.
Shout out to Lupe.
Yeah.
Fear of My Crown, your video. I seen the video come out. I think I did a story. I don't think I posted it, but I talked about it, and it was something you had to get off your chest. Obviously, could you take the people through the process of Fear of My Crown and what that symbolized to you and what that meant in your life?
Yeah, definitely. I've always been an advocate for speaking about a lot of things, whether it be mental health, depression, any type of thing. If people follow me for a long time, they can tell that I've always been on the forefront of speaking about these things. So I realized there wasn't too many songs about domestic violence, and at the time I was working with different child sanctuaries and different stuff like that, just helping the youth and different things, and doing the research. I forgot the exact quotes, but it was like 10 out of 14 women, like grown women, experience like domestic violence. And 7 out of 11 men experience domestic violence, and this is not even including the children. So many people, over 10 million people a year are experiencing it, and this is something that not a lot of people talk about. And I know, like when I spoke about depression in the past or certain things, like it gave a lot of other people a voice that that they didn't feel that they had. So I thought it was important to make a song about this. And I'm a child of domestic violence myself, so I was like, you know what? Let me make a song, but not so targeting. Like, let's make a song about the cycle of it. I think a lot of people underestimate the implications of not just the abuse side, because a lot of people focus on the abuse side, but they don't focus on the abuser unless it's to bash them, but it doesn't give context to it. And a lot of people who abuse will often abuse themselves as children. So in the video, I showed the cycle of that, the person being abused as a child, growing up to become the abuser, different things like that. And I think we have to attack it at its core. You know what I mean? The same thing that we say about white privilege. Like that's not black people's or minorities people's job to fix white privilege. It's white people's job. That's a white issue. That's a white poison inside of them that they feel like they're entitled, and so it's outward. And the same thing goes with abusers. Like the issue isn't the people that they're abusing or them doing something different. The issue is attacking the core of the abuser and realizing why does this happen and how can we prevent it moving forward. So after I released the video, a lot of people were affected positively by it. I got a lot of the only backlash that I got was really from the media or from the industry itself, but the people understood what I was going for. The only people that were offended were people that thought I was either targeting my dad. And yeah, granted, like I'm a child of domestic violence, and I think everybody talks about their stories no matter what. And I think that when your parent is famous, like in my context, my father is a very famous and known and loved person. But people love him externally. People only love him for the parts that they know about him that they glorified. I knew him as the human and as the artist at the same time. I got to see both his good and his bad side in total, and I got to experience that, and I got to forgive it, and I got to love who he was as a whole. People only love a piece of him. So when they got exposed to the other piece that they felt was there, their love was in question. So they'll go to deny it, or they'll say that I'm bashing or hating, when the song really wasn't about him or me. It was about abuse. And I had to speak from, same thing if you're rapping about depression, if you rap about drug use, if you rap about anything, if you have personal stories from it, you're going to express it and you're going to tell it from, your perspective or perspectives that you experience. Same thing, not any storyteller does. And that's the same thing that I did. And I think that if my father was, Joe Schmo from the block, or just, like Richard or something like that, like no one would have cared. But the fact that it's a famous, you almost can't tell the story if it, so like, but, I'm proud of what I did. There were so many people who've gotten out of abusive domestic violence because of it. I got thousands of messages of people learning how to cope and face their fears after that. Like there was a lot of lives that I saved through the music. So I'm proud, and that's priceless. Despite the industry backlash, despite the, you know, people feeling some type of way or them staring their own narratives about the situation, like it's all good. Like the change of the people are always gonna ride with what's genuine, and you know, all those other narratives, they're just gonna, you know, fall by the wayside as long as I stay true to myself. So I'll always do that. You know what I mean? I always speak about the truth, whatever I'm going through or whatever I feel is powerful, people need at the moment. And that was that. You know, shout out to Danny Cinema for shooting the vid, and all the actors that came through, and you know, anybody that's dealing with domestic violence right now, just, you know, please stay strong, know your worth. You don't have to be a part of it. And if anybody is on the side of committing that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't be that type, like, seek help. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to be the person that perpetuate that. You know, a lot of people do it because they feel like they're powerless, or they feel like they need to keep people there, or they feel like they need to enforce something. Like, you're not less than what you think. You don't need to overcompensate. Like, you know, seek help. You know, we love you, and, you know, just keep going.
I think it's crazy that people got a nerve to criticize you on a situation about your father. That's your dad. Like, that's insane. But nonetheless, like, how did dealing with that criticism, how did dealing with that just level of people thinking that they know you affect your mental health? And when did you realize mental health and dealing with demons was something that was important for you to have to deal with?
When it happened, it was you know, so I was probably like 18, 19, 20. I forgot when I put that out, but it was one of those things that, like, you know, I was already so used to public criticism at the time. Like, you know, when I remember, you know, when I was 15, I was living in the shelter. And at the time, like, the girl I was with, she was cheating on me. I had no clothes. I was fat. Like, I felt really low about myself, like at a low point. And my man, she asked me to, like, he was like, yo, like, you know, come out today, come to the pool, whatever. Like, and I hated public pools. I didn't feel good about all that shit. So he convinced me. I ended up going. I went. There was a time where I tried to climb out. And I climbed out. You know, I'm wet, so all the clothes are sticking to your body. I'm past like just a group of bad, like, joints, like 5 of them, and they all just point at me and start, like, breaking out laughing, and, like, you know, I felt so low. I'm like, you know, and I went back, and it was at that point where I realized, I'm like, yo, like, most of what I feel about myself is indicative of what other people feel about me. It's what's thrown on me. It's their expectations. It's what they're doing. They're judging me. I'm like, yo, I'm not about to destroy myself internally based on what other people's opinions are. And it's reinforcing my negative thoughts about myself. So after that, I started doing affirmations. I started, you know, powering myself up. I started working out, started getting, you know, stronger. And from there, I realized, like, yo, like, you can't really, you know, no matter what, like, you could be Jesus Christ. You could be like somebody's going to hate you. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what you do. Someone's going to hate you. You got to be yourself, because you're going to be loved or hated regardless. So it's all good. And then after I started doing music, I don't know if you noticed, but I have a gap right here. So, like, when I started doing videos, like, on Worldstar was the worst. Like, that's just like hate central. Like, I went on Worldstar, like, in the beginning, yo, bro, it ate at me. Like, I used to read it. Like, some of the jokes were good, some of them were just bad. But I was just like, yo, like, I worked my ass off. I put this out here. I did everything I could, and this is just mad gap jokes in the comments. I'm like, damn. So at first it hurt me, and then after a while, I just, like, I avoided it. And then I got back in, and now it's just like, it's nothing. I be rating them, I be commenting back, like, nah, I heard better. Like, so you develop tough skin in this, you know what I mean? You develop the reality that most people on the internet, these are just people. Like, if you're the type of person to go on the internet as somebody pursuing their dream and to write something hateful, like, or to, like, then what are you doing with yourself? Like, there is no successful, happy person that's going on the internet and hating on another human being.
Right.
They're in existence. There is no, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yo, like, this is a stranger. Like, for me to let somebody else come and control me, that's control. Like, for you, for if someone's able to come and say something to you and it affects your mood, and then you giving them the power to control you. Like, I have the power to control me. So at that point, I'm like, this shit don't even you know, it don't even matter to me. So but I felt the power in that, like, that growth. So since then, I've always been active in talking about it, between helping my friends, using my music platform, and just, you know, doing it. So by the time this happened, I was just like, yo, like, I've been doing this for years. It's just getting, you know, a certain amount of notoriety because it went viral. So it's exposed to a larger audience, and a larger audience means a lot more people who's going to be affected positively by it. But it means a lot more haters are going to crawl out of the woodwork. So, you know, it is. I just got to keep going with the mission, you know what I mean? And focus on the people that I helped and changed, and not the people that's offended by me just literally telling my own story and trying to help people. But, you know what I mean? Like, if you mad at me for trying to help people, that's, you know, look into yourself, because, you know, you need some work. Yeah.
So what's your current situation now? Are you signed? Are you independent?
Nah, independent.
Independent. Okay.
Not signed, independent, all indie. You know, like I do most of this shit myself. Like I record myself. I'm learning how to mix and make beats. You know, I got producers that I work with and engineers, and you know, a few videographers. I'm learning that myself too. And my manager's my cousin, and one of my other homies. And yeah, man, it's just really in house, like you know, and no really external support except for like some relationships that I cultivated along the way. But yeah, nobody is funding me. Nobody. I don't even have a drug dealer backing me from the block down like that. So this is all like. Yeah, like this is all struggle from the pocket, barely breaking even, but you know, trying to pursue the dream anyway. Just you know, just enough to survive. Like that's what it is. But hopefully, getting to the point where whether I make the wise enough decisions or cultivate enough sources of income or figure it out where I could still do my dream and at the same time be able to support myself and my family financially. You know what I'm saying, at the same time. So yeah, it is, you know, it is what it is. But we know our worth. Like you don't need to necessarily sign to a label and they take over creative control and 90%